Hi gamers. I had a few people ask me, Sam, how do I play mono green? Sam, what's up with your mono green deck? Why are the numbers weird? So I decided, since there's not many more large tournaments to play with this standard deck, I just figured I'm going to post this video for free and just like talk a little bit about my thoughts. The issue is I can't talk to the screen for an hour. That's not something I'm able to do. So I'm also going to be learning how to apply goth makeup. This is the look I'm trying to do today. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is probably not going to be very productive for you, but you're here, and if you want to learn mono green, you're going to fucking deal with it. So, we're going to talk a little bit about Landfall while I apply. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing here. This is foundation mixing pigment. I think this is just foundation, or I just apply it to my face. So we're going to talk a little bit about Landfall. Landfall originally started as a Sapling nursery fecund green shell combo deck. Like, it had the whole elf cub earthbender ascension thing where you were able to like be a little aggressive with Saz's chocobo. But for the most part, hold on, let me zoom in here. Oh god. The deck started not so much as a might form harmonizer, like get you dead deck. These early versions of the deck only played like 2 or 3 might form harmonizer. That wasn't the original plan. Fecund green shell with sapling nursery is like a cool combo. You get to keep putting lands in play and triggering your nursery, and you just build a huge board from a turn 4 nursery into a you just build a huge board from a 4 mana nursery into a 5 mana green shell. That's why some of the earlier versions played cards like Glimpse the Core and Shared Roots as just like rampant growth effects. Building wide boards just like didn't do enough when you had access to trample from the Earthbender Ascension and insanely large numbers with the Might Form Harmonizer. So you also had the Badger Mole Cub deck, which that deck also didn't care about wide boards because you would eventually kill with Nature's Rhythm into a Craterhoof Behemoth. So the green deck had a few structural flaws, and the first people to realize that you shouldn't be building the mono green deck like that was Neil Strata. I think it was Neil who created the deck and got his entire team, the Scrap Heap Gamers, to play a version at RC Milwaukee, that just didn't play any copies of Sapling Nursery. They were just a lot more all in on the combo, played like Surrock and stuff, and were just really low to the ground, kill you decks. And obviously, I believe Neil top 32. I think he just like missed out on top 8, maybe lost the last round for the win and in. And from there, you would think that everyone would just like adapt that version of the deck that's like good into the mirror, good into Cub. You don't like actually need Sapling Nursery to beat Prowess, because RC Milwaukee was the first regional championship where Prowess was like a reasonably high represented deck. So you would think you would think everyone would be playing the deck going forward, but no, Magic players are stupid and they didn't adapt. And they kept playing their nurseries. I was playing like fucking Michelangelos and shit. That deck was atrocious. I don't want to talk about Spotlight Richmond, the one that was won by, I think that was John Puglisi Clark with a Neil Estrada-esque mono green deck. Crazy, right? Okay. I don't need to get too close around the eyes. I don't need to get too close around the eyes because they're going to be black there anyway. I think I probably should have put like some primer on. I don't know exactly. This is concealer. What's this? This is powder. This is setting powder. So I put this on after? I don't fucking know. Hold on. And then fast forward a little bit to the Pro Tour Secrets of Strixhaven. My team, wasn't really me. It was mostly Javier Dominguez and the Spanish group going really hard on green-white for Diadrine and Erode. Erode leads to some nice little instant kills. The card's good into Prowess. And that deck ended up putting 2 of its pilots into the finals of the Pro Tour, Nathan Stoyer and Chris Larson. The deck was good for that tournament, but that was also the tournament where Alex Rohan debuted Jeskai control that I think ended up morphing into 4-color control. And the Erode version of the deck, compared to versions with Esper Origins, did not do well into the 4-color deck. So going forward from that PT, green-white did really badly at RCDC, and green-white since has fallen off the map solely because of how bad it is into 4-color. And green has a little bit more play into the control deck because of Esper Origins. We'll talk a little bit more about Esper Origins. This is the list that I played at the Regional Championship DC, probably the reason why you're watching this video. I'm not going to spoil my exact placement for people who end up wanting... I'm not going to spoil my exact placement for people who want to end up watching a video on this tournament that comes out whenever I release it, which will probably be like 3 fucking years. But I did pretty okay. I got $5,000, so if you know what placement gives you $5,000, good job. You know the answer to your question. But I know a little bit about Landfall. I've qualified for the Pro Tour twice with Landfall. I played at a Pro Tour once. I've played, I don't want to say 1,000 matches, but definitely over... Saying I've played hundreds of matches is definitely an understatement. So, let's talk a little bit about Esper Origins, and this card fucking sucks. I hate it so bad, but you kind of need it for both control and spelementals. Is this done? Oh god, it looks so patchy. Okay, so the issue with Esper Origins is it kind of fucking sucks. It's obviously not a very good card, but like you kind of need it specifically for spelementals and for control. Those are 2 decks where like you end up wanting to play like a really long game sometimes, where the control deck obviously is casting a bunch of wraths and removals. It allows your Ice Explorers to become like real Magic the Gathering cards in the matchup, which is kind of important. It also can dig for fetches, like what happened in this match here at the last regional championship. I dug like 20 cards deep and couldn't find a fetch, but eventually this card, digging 4 cards, was eventually able to help me get there. It's a really good gap filler. I don't know exactly what I meant when I said very good gap filler, but I do want to mention that it's really important as a plan with Isol Explorer, with it and Bossing Say, where like you kind of need both of these cards. Oh, I just fucked up. I just fucked it. It looks so good, and now it's fucked. You kind of need both those cards to make Ice Explorer a good enough like plan in itself. The green-white deck that we played at the Pro Tour didn't play 4 copies of Isol Explorer because you only played 3 Bossing Say and 0 Esper Origins. Your opponent should be scared of letting you untap with an Isol Explorer. And if the Ice Still isn't doing anything, they're able to just like not point the removal spell at Ice Still, kill all of your other threats, and your Ice Still kind of isn't doing anything besides getting all the lands out of your deck. So you kind of need it. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying right here. You need more than just Bossing Say. So this card is, I would say, it is a necessary evil. Sapling Nursery. Like, look, he has a bunch of children. This card fucks. This card's really sweet. As I was saying before, we originally played 4, but because it's so bad into the mirror and to Badger Mole Cub decks in general, we've kind of moved away from the card. However, it's really good into Prowess. However, because Prowess no longer plays Elusive Otter, this card is a really good card versus these Prowess decks. The only card they have to like really beat this effect is either countering on the way down with an Annul, or by bouncing your whole board with a Thunderflock. Obviously, the Elusive Otter lets you attack through the 3/4 tokens, so some blue-red decks will sideboard Elusive Otter. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the section where we go into depth on the blue-red deck. But this card is really good into Prowess and Control. Bad in the mirror, as I already said. Card fucks hard, as I already said. And it's like good into like some of the more niche random decks that don't pressure you as much. These matchups like demons can be a little difficult, but because they've been cutting the demon itself, it's not like super bad anymore. This card is just like really good into decks that don't kill you, but the issue, look, Elusive Otter, talk about it. Talk splits later. Okay. In the version of the deck that I played at DC, I played a 1-2 split Sapling Nursery, 1 main, 2 side. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you never really want to draw more than one of this card. There are some matches where you need to draw one in order to like be ahead. So in those matchups you board in the others, but like there are going to be like some matches like maybe versus like elementals, not spellmentals, elementals itself, where like yeah, you're happy to see a sapling nursery, but it's not like a good enough plan where you want multiple copies of the card. Okay, Meltstrider's Resolve. This is a really interesting card because it looks broken at base level versus Prowess, but it kind of sucks. One of the issues is Slickshot Show Off doesn't die to this card enough. The good Prowess players just won't play. How do I go back? Because that's not what I wanted to click. I don't care. I don't care. The good Prowess players, if their hand is able to do it, they'll just hold the Slickshot Show Offs in the plot zone where you can't interact with them in instant speed. And they're just going to play like a more controlling game until they have like 2 slick shots in there, or they can end step like crab tap down your team, slick shot, spell, deal the 20 damage, and you're fucking dead. So this card, like, you kind of need it, but it's not like a good enough plan versus Prowess. So people don't always play 4 of this card in their main decks. I didn't really understand this going into DC. I realized it, I think, Friday evening. I was kind of regretting playing 4 of this in the main deck. You obviously need 4 of them in the 75 total because it's so important to the mirror and into Cub, but like, you don't want all of the copies of this card. I think I'm done with the foundation. This looks fine. I'm gonna apply some makeup. I'm gonna apply some lipstick. I don't know. I've been told that this is good lipstick. We're gonna try to apply lipstick. I've never. I totally fucked this up. I fucked this up so bad. This looks awful. I'm gonna come back to it later when I know what the fuck I'm doing. Next, I want to talk super quick on some other fight spell options because there are going to be some metagames, like if this Ouroboros deck just gets better and better, you're going to need more copies of fight. So there's a few that I've played in the past, and there's also a new one from the Marvel set that I'm not going to go into because talking about the Marvel set makes me sad. So we're going to talk about the ones that I've played before. At my list in Milwaukee, I played 0 Meltstrider's Resolve because I thought there'd be more nulls than there were. But that doesn't matter. I played 1 copy of Longstock Brawl. This card is interesting. It's good with Hydra. If you're playing a lot of Hydras in your main deck, you can consider this card because it puts a +1/+1/+1 counter on the Hydra. You can do some cute things with it. It also allows your 1/2 Chocobo to kill a Badger Mold Cub, which is kind of nice. There's not a lot of other cards that do that in the format besides Primal Might, Foundation's secret rare. I love me some cards that no one believes me when I say they're in standard. This deck sometimes has a lot of extra mana laying around. Oh god, how do I do this? This is way harder than I thought. I'm not using a mirror, I'm using my camera. And so there's like a half-second delay. Oh yeah, it's so fucked. It's so fucked. Okay, I'm giving up on that. Anyway, this deck sometimes has a lot of extra mana, and dumping it into like a Primal Might can sometimes just kill your opponent. This card was a card that I thought was broken, and it turns out it wasn't. I don't think this is a card that you really need to consider going forward. It's just, I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Yeah, I'm looking like Kiss. This was a really bad idea. Also, I'm crying. I think I got... Oh, that was bad. I'm such a fat fucking chud. Okay, I'm not gonna try to fix that eyeball. We're just gonna keep talking about magic cards. So the card is a lot worse versus Prowess and the Mirror. It's probably not a card you really want to consider. Before either of these cards, you want to play the 4th Resolve. Resolve is really good. It stops your opponent from double blocking, which is reasonably relevant with like large chocobos and stuff. Good card. Play the card. Let's quickly talk about the cards that I played in my flex slots from the regional championship. I played 1 copy of Keen Eye Curator. It's good versus all the blue-red decks. Obviously, these decks now play the 1-mana card Impractical Joke, so your cards die like a little easier than they did previously, but like it's fine. I don't know. This looks really bad. I don't really care. It has a little bit of application in the Green Mirror because you can eat lands that are earthbent if you respond to their trigger. It's obviously like good players won't let you do this, but it does slow your opponent down if you just like have this card in play and leave a mana open. This isn't like a great plan. You're gonna board it out in the mirror, but like it's a card that is fine in game ones, right? You can see that I am a fucking weenie and I have no idea how to do this. I fucked up my first eye, and now I'm just making this other eye match because it doesn't really matter if you look good as long as you do it. This is my first time putting on makeup like this in a year. So we're it's not like riding a bike, let me tell you. Another thing to note is this card, like Surrak, is a natural trampler, and having cards in game one where you could like Might Form Harmonizer, fetch, deal. This one's 7, so it's 14, 28 damage without needing the trample from a Earthbender's Ascension is reasonably relevant, and that's good. Again, like Surrak, trample, great. I don't know what the fuck was that. It's great versus Prowess. They can't target your stuff. They can't kill you. They can't kill your stuff without you drawing cards. And it's just like a reasonable good card on rate. It's a legendary though, so you can't like build your deck around it. But it's just like probably one of the best green cards printed in a long time. And you're going to play one copy of it, and you're going to be reasonably happy when you draw it versus these like mid-range and control decks. The one Sapling nursery, I think I did explain all of my thoughts before with like, you don't want to have multiple of this effect. It's always going to be good, but the second one sometimes makes you want to blow your brains out, especially if you don't have the fourth forest to cast them. It's just a dead draw so much of the time. Back and still fucking whatever. Don't play for random shit. Bad players play random shit. You'll beat him anyways. Good advice, Sam. Great. What's next? 2 Demolition Field. Love this card. I don't know if I love it anymore, but at the point of this regional championship, Demolition Field was amazing. Again, just it was a Foundation Secret Rare, but this time it's an uncommon Foundation set symbol, whatever. It is really its own plan versus control, like with the Ice Still, Bossing Say stuff. This is just another card that just like sometimes fucks your control opponents. Usually they play one basic. The Jeskai control decks play more basics, but the 4-color control decks play 1 or 2 basics. So sometimes you can just start strip mining them. You don't even need the Ice Still Explorer. You can just Bossing Say, activate onto it, and use this every single turn. Eventually, they're going to stop hitting their lands, and then you can execute your plan. It's pretty good. The issue is Tablet does ramp them +2. So there's going to be some games you need to realize I am not able to take my opponents off mana, and you need to like immediately understand when that's going to happen, flip the switch, and start taking a more proactive role. It's fine. These decks sometimes play a lot of Hamlets to turn off your Bossing Says and Fabled Passages. This is a card that they need to name first, usually, in order to not get strip mine locked, or else when you draw this, you can hit their Hamlet that's on your on the Bossing Say, and then you unlock everything. So it's just more cards that they need to name with the card. It's really rough. Decks are greedy with basics, as we said. In my round 10 of RCDC, my Mardu discard opponent had 2 basic mountains, and I strip mined them in 1 or 2 of the games that I won. I forget. But they did not play the basics necessary to beat this card. Sometimes I know Jake Beardsley plays like 2 mountains, 1 plains in his deck, and I think he was the best performing Mardu discard player in the room. More respect for Demo Field. And like all the Steam Vents decks, that's Prowess and Spelementals, they only play islands. And again, I think it was round 5, I strip mined my Prowess opponent off of red, and they lost the game because they couldn't cast Double Burst Lightning. So yeah, again, more ways to make Ice Still Explorer just its own like singular threat. I already talked about why it was bad in Landfall. Great, I'm so smart. Okay, now on to like the more meat of this video, where we talk about like how to approach the more popular matchups. The Green Mirror. I don't love this matchup just because it kind of stinks. There's not a lot of agency. The agency all comes in the mulligan section, where you need to keep hands that are do something broken. You obviously can't rely on things like Ice Still Explorer to get you there. If you're not playing Mossborn Hydras in the main deck, you really need like a Mightform Harmonizer or an Earthbender Ascension to be able to push through the damage. Just a hand with like large chocobos sometimes isn't going to get there if your opponent goes Elf into Ascension into Ice Till. You're going to lose that game on turn 4 when they cast the Mightform Harmonizer and you're dead. And unless you have like a very heavy Earthbend fetchland hand, your double chocobo hands aren't going to beat that. You're still going to keep your double chocobo hands on the play, but you're not going to be happy about it. So you kind of need to have some sort of plan to kill your opponent in this game 1 scenario. Meltstrider's Resolve is really important to slow your opponent down. I already talked about the Ice Steel grind not working. Obviously, kill him. Kill him, dead. Postboard games get a lot trickier. They revolve more around Mossborn Hydra and protecting Mossborn Hydra. I've talked to some really smart green players who like boarding into Meltstrider's Resolve, who like boarding into Royal Treatment, and some who don't. I'm not totally sure what the correct answer is. I think on the ride home from DC, I thought about it, and I liked Surok on the play and Royal Treatment on the draw. It's really dependent on like how many removal spells your opponent has and how easily they are able to protect their Mossborn Hydra. If they're able to protect their Hydra, you kind of want to be able to kill them quicker, which means you do want Surok for the natural like Mightform Harmonizer, Surok, deal you a bunch of damage, and any other like Chocobos or Badgermole Cubs that you've gotten in with 1 or 2 times will deal the last points of damage. I could see both like the Surok and the Royal Treatment coming in along with the Hydras. I'm not totally sure. Obviously, you want to cut 3 Esper Origins, and when you cut your Esper Origins, you want to go down some number of Ice Stills. Obviously, Nursery sucks. I think going forward, I would be trying +2 Royal Treatment, +1 Surok, -3 Esper, -1 Nursery, -3 Ice Still Explorer, and leave in this Surok. Ice Still's good. It allows you to like kill very easily with Mightform Harmonizer, but Mightform doesn't usually need help. Just like a singular fetch land and like some other way to use your mana to Earthbend it is going to be good enough for a kill. Again, this matchup does come down to vibes. Like if your opponent is like more all in on protecting their Hydra, you kind of need to kill your opponent instead of trying to play a slightly longer game with Surok. Maybe in those matchups you don't want Surok and you just like leave in some Ice Stills so you can like guarantee kill your opponent if you go like turn 3 Hydra with a protection spell up. Again, don't be afraid to mulligan to like 6, 5, even 4 for hands that have a plan versus hands that just have like Chocobo, Ice Till, Badgermole Cub, lands. Like you kind of need to have an answer to Hydra or have a Hydra in order to like win these post-board games. If you have like a Meltstrider's Resolve with Chocobo, Meltstrider's Resolve does answer the Hydra. So you're gonna keep those hands most of the time. But if it doesn't have any of those, probably gonna mulligan it. Prowess, probably not the hardest matchup in the room, just because like I think mono green is favored into these blue-red Prowess decks, but it's like the hardest to fully understand the matchup because these blue-red decks have 2 main angles of attack, as we already talked about. You can either like plot show off and play the control role, but some of your games aren't going to be able to do that. You're going to see games where they go like talent, boomerang and basics, talent, and then boomerang and basics one of your creatures and start getting in with 2 or 3 otters. And those hands are pretty difficult to beat if they have both the otters and the interaction. If they have otters plus like draw spells and they're not interacting with your board, you can sometimes just kill them with your Chocobos, which is what happened in my round 13 versus my friend Michael. Obviously the second plan of the Slick Shot is a lot better into these green decks because you can't really interact with the Slick Shot when it's in the plot zone. So the smart players who you're going to be playing versus are going to leave your Resolve stranded. I think I already said that. I'm just reading off the slide. Blah, blah, blah. Try not to go too all in. These decks are moving a bit more towards the bounce off effects again now that the green-white Gearhulk, Badgermole Cub, or Bore deck is here. A bounce off is really good into Cub if there's no fetch lands in your deck. So There's a lot more tap, there's a lot more bounce. So going all in on a Mightform Harmonizer turn in order to like force the action sometimes isn't going to be what you want. You can like try to build like a larger board to beat their otter tokens if they haven't plotted any slick shots. If there's a slick shot in the plot zone, you might need to pull the trigger, and just like don't be afraid to lose the game if that happens. Grind if possible, no one to jam. Good job, Sam. Post board plans are a little weird. Because of Dragon Sniper, this card is good into the slick shot show off plan, but it's not really good if they're like really slow with the slick shot show off plan. Like if you go turn 1 Dragon Sniper, they have so much time to answer that card, and it's only dealing 1 damage per turn. Don't keep shitty hands just because they have Dragon Sniper. This is not 1 mana instant speed destroy target slick shot show off. It's not Paw Patch Formation. Paw Patch Formation is 2 mana answer to slick shot. It can be too slow sometimes, but in these long grindy games, 2 mana is nothing. You're a Landfall deck. It's fine. Again, these are the cards you always want: the Dragon Snipers, the Treatments, the Surocs. You want some number of Nurseries, some number of Paw Patch, and some number of Kenai. I say some number of Nurseries because there are these decks that have a sideboard plan of Elusive Otter and Wild Ride, and if your plan versus these Prowess decks is to make a wide board of 3/4s, you're sometimes going to lose to like an aggressive start, putting you to like 10, 8 life, and then they go Elusive Otter, Wild Ride, Burst Lightning, you're dead. You can't block that. You can't block the 6-powered card very easily unless you have a Mightform Harmonizer in play to like crack a fetch land on your opponent's turn and make your tree folk a 6/4. It's really tough. So you kind of do need to have a little caution when boarding into these nurseries. Your deck mana cost just gets so high, and you're going to lose a lot to these more aggressive starts that these decks sometimes have. Just like use your brain, look at their sideboard, figure out how to approach it. Again, some number of Paw Patch is going to be good. When your opponent is relying more heavily on Slick Shot Show Off compared to other threats, Paw Patch is great. If you're able to like keep a hand that says like, yeah, this hand might lose to Otters, but it has a Paw Patch for the Slick Shot, it's fine. If your opponent is boarding into more Otters, that's not a good enough thing. So like I've been slightly considering not bringing in both the Paw Patches, sometimes only one. Just use your discretion. And obviously Kenai is good. Sometimes it's a good blocker versus these more aggressive Otter draws. You're going to be boarding out your 3 Esper Origins just because that card's really slow. Some number of Earthbenders come out because they have like, some people leave in Spell Pierces and Get Outs, and they bring in Annuls sometimes. So Earthbender is just like a 3 mana card that just gets got by all of their interaction. It's kind of rough. And you're going to be boarding out probably 4 Cub if they have like bounce off effects, tap effects. Cub is really bad into those. And some number of Mightform Harmonizers if you're going a lot bigger with the Nursery plan. I know I said before that these decks have morphed into a more aggressive version than like one relying all in on Nursery, but if you just like leave in your Mightforms when you're bringing in your Nurseries, you're going to get hands that just have like land, 2-drop, 4-drop, 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 and it's going to look fucking embarrassing. When you board out these Origins, you can also board out Icestill Explorers. Icestill is good with Nursery, but you don't always need the Icestill Explorer. These blue-red decks, again, like there's so many different versions of these Prowess decks. There's ones with the horse, ones without the horse, ones with Elusive Otter's main, Elusive Otter's side, Crab's main, Crab's side. It's really hard to have like a singular cohesive plan, so this is the matchup where you need to have your reps with green in order to have a good time. I don't know. I think that's all I have to say about that. I am thirsty. It is so hot in this house. Holy shit. Okay. Before I die, let's finish up this thing. The green white gearhulk deck is kind of new. I don't have a ton of experience playing versus these decks with practice defense. The only time I was gonna play versus a practice defense deck at my most recent RC, I intentionally drew with them so I didn't have to play versus them. It was a really good strategy. So I think the way you need to approach this deck is very similar to like the Landfall Mirror and to just like normal like Nature's Rhythm Cub, where you just like game 1 kill them, game 2 Hydra, protect, or kill them. Either way works. prioritize fast kills. Also, make sure your lethal lines beat class gearhulk. I've lost once, embarrassingly, when I attacked with a Surok that was like 32 power, and they said, block with my bright glass gearhulk. First strike. You're dead. That was a little embarrassing. It's a really bad matchup, and it's kind of why Landfall doesn't really exist on Moto right now, just because there's so much green-white gearhulk. I think this is a symptom of people not wanting to play Landfall on Moto, just because the deck's really fucking boring and no one enjoys it. That's fine, but like if you're playing the Arena Championships this weekend, there's going to be people playing Landfall. Don't be tricked by the lack of representation on Moto. The deck's win rate is still high, even if it has a bad green-white gearhulk matchup. Versus Control, this is one of the matchups that my friend Josh, who I'm mostly making this video for, was having some concerns about. Ice Still Explorer and the whole Ice Still package with all your stupid cards usually is able to beat Jeskai Revelation, just like 1-for-1. Jeskai Rev is a good card. It slows the opponent down, and if you can capitalize on the following turn after a Jeskai Rev as the control player, you're going to win the game. But sometimes these Landfall decks build a wide enough board where it doesn't really matter. You're able to block with your Earthbent cards, and you can't really get anything from your Jeskai Rev unless you're playing like 4 Rev, 2 Flashback, just like chaining him 3 turns in a row. Three Revs in a row is going to kill you, but just like a singular Rev hoping to stabilize you is not going to be enough. Nursery is a good plan. This deck doesn't play very many Wraths, and the only answer to Nursery is the 4 mana, the card, like the Crackling, I call it the Crackling Doom. It's not Crackling Doom. It's the Lightning Helix plus destroy a permanent. It's called Inevitable Defeat. I remember now because I'm reading it here. Defend the Rider is a card that's in my sideboard right now. I'm going to, in a few slides, I'll show you my updated version of the deck. It's a good card into Inevitable Defeat because it says target permanent gains hexproof, so it can protect the Sapling Nursery, and that's like really backbreaking for these control decks. If you can resolve your Nursery and protect it with this stupid card, they can't win the game. It's kind of nice. Get ready to play long games with them, and don't be scared to do that. You are a Bossing Say deck with recurable strip mines. Like you have the tools to win this matchup if it goes to turn 20. Just like don't try to push wins. Try to like accumulate value with your Earthbent lands and just like animate attack for 2, animate attack for 4. Don't present threats unless you like need to present or your opponent shows signs of weakness. You like this is just like classic control versus mid-range. You know how to play this. Some other matchups I want to quickly mention. Jeskai Lessons. I do think the Jeskai Lessons deck looks scary, but I think it's better than the blue-red Lessons deck of previous standard. I guess it still exists, but previous standard. Just because, again, Jeskai Revelation isn't the trump card people say it is versus these green decks, and I don't know, the old versions of Lessons with Monument just like turned the corner in 1.5 turn cycles. And this deck can't turn the corner in 1.5 turn cycles. You get the time to activate your Bossing Says after they cast their 7 mana win the game card. I don't fully understand why this matchup's hard. I've played it probably 10 times and I've won 10 of them. I guess I'm better than you. Is it Spellmentals? Again, kind of like the control decks, you're going to be playing a long game sometimes. Their flyers will kill you. Don't be afraid to just like chump block their 4 and 5 power creatures to just like save some life in the late game, because you can't really deal with their 5/5 Thunder Flocks. Try to keep your life total high and be ready to play a long game, but like eventually you're going to outpower them when they run out of Thunder Flocks. I think that's it. This is my updated list. I can't exactly see it because the screen is being blocked by my camera and stuff. If you can see here. Ooh, look, it's me. So I can't. I'm going to try to talk about it, but I'm going to be like over here. I cut a Demolition field for a Cavern of Souls. I think there's going to be more like blue-red decks that are like have a bit more like get-outs in the main deck. And Demolition field is getting a little worse now that people are respecting it by adding more basics to their deck. So Cavern main deck makes sense. As we talked about before, I cut a Meltstrider's Resolve because these Prowess players are getting better at understanding what to do. I think I added the Lumbering World Wagon as a concession for the mirror, And for Cub, it's a good threat. It kills them. If you can give it trample, it wins. If you can give it trample, it usually wins the game. It's nice. And then post board, made a few more changes. Defend the Riders, as I talked about before. I cut a Dragon Sniper and added another Keen Eye because there's a little bit more spell elementals. And Keen Eye is just a good card into Mardu discard. Eating all their stuff is good. I've even started to play it versus the green-white like Cub Void deck just because it eats practice defense. The first practice defense you can beat. I don't know if this is correct. It probably is not very correct, but what are you going to do? I do think the Keen Eye is good enough versus blue-red decks in general to have the second copy, have the third copy of it in your 75, and you're like reasonably happy to draw 2 of that effect because the first one's usually dying to a joke. I think that's all the changes. If the green-white deck is like really high, I think I said earlier that you want the Hydras in the main deck. You want the Hydras in the main deck. If that happens, your Defend the Riders should probably become Royal Treatments again, just because this card is not a very good Game 1 card. You can do some really cool tricks with Defend the Rider, like Strategic Betrayal is a card that these decks usually play versus you. Just like try to kill a Surok, exile your Esper Origins from the graveyard. It's a good effect. You can make a pilot and sack the pilot. Like, I don't think I've ever made a pilot and had it not die immediately, because I think the only situation was I made it to be sacrificed to an edict. So card's cool, but if you're like main decking the Hydras, you don't want a card that's like niche enough like this. You want it to be like something like a Snakeskin Veil or Royal Treatment. If you're main decking 4 Hydras, it probably should be Snakeskin Veil, but like 4 Hydras in the main is a lot in a format where Prowess exists. That card fucking sucks here. So I think that's basically it. I'm gonna post a more full sideboard guide on my Patreon for free. Don't yell at me, guys. I don't like people paying for content. I feel scummy. People should post resources for free, especially when they're done with it. I'm not playing the standard format until at least the modern RCQ season and modern Pro Tour are over. So have fun, go wild. Subscribe, Patreon, YouTube. This is obviously my second channel. I'm just gonna be posting shit here, like actual shit. Maybe some long gameplay footage. I got this cool little camera. I'll pick it up, whatever. It's gonna have so much makeup on it. It's like a little camera that clips right here and it records POV footage. I've been using that for the past few events and it's really cool. And I got a lot of footage from there, so I'll upload some gameplay there. Okay, that's the video. Subscribe. I don't fucking care.